Kai wasn't supposed to be anywhere near the nurse's station that night. He had only stopped by General Hospital to drop off paperwork, planning to leave before anyone noticed him. The corridors were unusually quiet, the kind of silence that made every small sound echo louder than it should. As he turned the corner toward the supply room, he froze. Just a few feet away, Wiley's mother stood near a medical waste bin. She looked around quickly, her shoulders tense as if she didn't want to be seen. In her hand was a small medical item wrapped in gauze. After a brief hesitation, she dropped it into the bin and pushed the lid down harder than necessary. Kai instinctively stepped back into the shadows. Something about the moment didn't feel right. It wasn't what she threw away, it was how she did it. The nervous glance over her shoulder, the rush to leave, the way her hands trembled as she walked down the hallway without looking back. Kai's mind started racing. Why would she be handling medical supplies herself? Why not leave it to the nurses? And why did she look so shaken afterward? The next morning, Kai couldn't shake the image from his mind. He returned to the hospital under the excuse of checking on a friend, but really he wanted answers. He quietly asked one of the staff about who had access to certain treatment rooms the night before. The answers didn't make things clearer, they made them more confusing. According to the schedule, Wiley's mother had no reason to be in that part of the hospital at all. Meanwhile, she acted perfectly normal when he saw her later, calm, composed, even friendly. But Kai noticed something new in her eyes, a flicker of worry whenever the hospital was mentioned. That was when you realized this wasn't a coincidence. He started putting the pieces together, a recent medical emergency, a change in someone's condition that didn't quite add up, and now a strange late-night visit to dispose of something in secret. Kai didn't want to jump to conclusions, but his instincts told him there was more to the story than anyone realized. And if he was right, what he saw that night at GH could change everything for Wiley's family. Kai tried to convince himself to let it go. People did strange things in hospitals all the time. Emotions ran high. Stress made everyone act a little off. Maybe he had misread the whole situation. But the more he replayed the moment in his mind, the less it felt like a misunderstanding. Later that afternoon, he found himself standing near the nurse's desk again, pretending to scroll through his phone while listening carefully to the quiet conversations around him. Two nurses were discussing a patient whose condition had suddenly improved overnight. "That turnaround was unexpected," one of them whispered. "The chart doesn't fully explain it." Kai's ears perked up. Unexpected improvement, unclear explanation. His thoughts immediately went back to what he had seen. He casually asked which room they were talking about. When they told him, his stomach tightened. That room had been just down the hall from where he saw Wiley's mother the night before. This was no coincidence. Kai felt a chill run through him. If someone had interfered with a treatment, even with good intentions, it could have serious consequences. Hospitals had strict protocols for a reason. He wrestled with what to do next. Accusing someone without proof could ruin lives, but staying silent if something improper had happened felt just as wrong. That evening, Kai spotted Wiley's mother again in the waiting area. She looked exhausted, staring blankly at the floor as if carrying a heavy burden. When their eyes met, she forced a smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. For a brief moment, Kai saw it clearly. Guilt. Not the guilt of a crime, but the guilt of someone who had made a desperate choice. He approached her carefully. "Long night?" he asked gently. She nodded too quickly. "Yeah, just worried about everything." Kai studied her face. "You know, the staff mentioned something unusual happened with a patient last night, a sudden change." Her expression shifted almost imperceptibly. Her fingers tightened around her purse strap. "I'm sure the doctors know what they're doing," she replied, her voice slightly shaky. That was all Kai needed to hear. He didn't press further, but now he was certain. She knew something. The question was why. Was she trying to help someone, protect someone, or cover up a mistake? Kai realized this wasn't just about a strange moment in a hallway anymore. This was about a secret that could affect multiple lives, including Wiley's. And if the truth came out the wrong way, it wouldn't just cause questions. It would cause a storm at General Hospital.
Barely slept that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the same image. Wiley's mother standing by the waste bin, her hands shaking before she hurried away. By morning, he made a decision. He wasn't going to accuse anyone, but he was going to learn the truth. He returned to GH and struck up a casual conversation with a hospital orderly he knew. Trying not to sound suspicious, Kai asked about how medical waste was handled and who had access to those bins after hours. "Only staff, usually," the orderly said. "Why?" Kai shrugged it off. "Just curious. I saw someone near one late at night and thought it was odd." The orderly frowned. "Security cameras cover that hallway. If something happened, it'd be on tape." Kai's heart skipped. Cameras. He hadn't thought about that. Later, as he passed the security office, he noticed the door slightly open. Inside, a monitor wall showed feeds from different parts of the hospital. One screen clearly displayed the very hallway where he had seen Wiley's mother. His pulse quickened. If the footage still existed, it could explain everything. But before he could step closer, a voice stopped him. "You're spending a lot of time here lately." Kai turned to see Wiley's mother standing behind him. Her expression was calm, but her eyes were sharp, watchful. "I have friends here," Kai replied casually. "Hospitals tend to pull people in." She glanced toward the security room, then back at him. For a brief second, something like panic flashed across her face before she masked it. "You know, sometimes it's better not to dig into things that don't concern you." The words were polite. The tone was not. Kai realized she knew exactly what he was thinking. "I'm not digging," I said carefully. "I just worry when things don't make sense." She held his gaze a moment longer, then sighed, not angrily, but wearily. "You ever do something because you think it's the only way to protect someone?" she asked quietly. Kai didn't answer. She didn't wait for one. "Not everything is as simple as it looks," she added, before walking away down the hall. Kai stood there, stunned. That wasn't a denial. That was a confession wrapped in a warning. Now he was more certain than ever. Whatever she had done, she believed she had done it for a reason. The problem was, if hospital administration found out first, or if that footage surfaced, intentions wouldn't matter. Only actions would. And Kai was beginning to understand that he might be the only person standing between a desperate secret and a hospital-wide scandal that could turn Wiley's world upside down. Kai watched her disappear down the hallway, his mind racing, a confession wrapped in a warning. He knew two things now. She had done something, and she was terrified of anyone finding out. But fear alone didn't tell him whether what she did had helped someone or put them at risk. That afternoon, Kai quietly checked in on the patient whose condition had changed so suddenly. From the doorway, he could see doctors reviewing charts with puzzled expressions. Words like unusual response and unexpected results drifted into the hallway. Nothing was adding up for the staff. And that meant, sooner or later, someone would start asking harder questions. As he turned to leave, Kai nearly bumped into a nurse carrying a stack of reports. "They're pulling last night's surveillance for review," she muttered to a colleague. "Administration wants to see who was in the restricted hallway." Kai's chest tightened. The footage. Time was running out. He found Wiley's mother in the hospital chapel, sitting alone in the back pew. Her head was bowed, hands clasped tightly together. She didn't look up when he entered, but she knew he was there. "They're reviewing the cameras," Kai said gently. Her eyes closed for a long moment. When she finally looked at him, the fear she had been hiding was fully visible now. "I never meant for this to happen," she whispered. "Then tell me why," Kai urged, "before someone else decides what your actions mean." Tears filled her eyes, but her voice stayed steady. "I thought I was helping. I thought if I did one small thing, it would make a difference. I didn't think about the rules. I only thought about the person lying in that bed." Kai listened carefully. She explained how she had seen someone she cared about fading, not responding the way doctors expected. In a moment of panic and desperation, she acted on something she believed might help, something she had no authority to handle. Afterward, fear took over. She disposed of the item, hoping no one would notice. "I wasn't trying to hurt anyone. I just couldn't stand by and do nothing." Kai believed her, but he also knew belief wouldn't protect her from consequences. "The truth is going to come out," he said softly. "The only question is whether it comes from you or from a security report." She wiped her eyes and nodded slowly. "If I come forward, it could cost me everything." "If you don't," Kai replied, "it could be worse." For the first time since this began, she didn't look defensive, she looked resigned. As they sat in silence, the hospital intercom crackled overhead, calling staff to an administrative meeting. Kai had a feeling he knew exactly what that meeting was about. And very soon, General Hospital was going to learn that one desperate decision in a quiet hallway set off a chain of events no one saw coming.